them up so that when I'm gone, they can continue that legacy that started with Shay and Fale and Sid. And then obviously Sarah Roberts had a great influence on me. She was kind of our chaplain.
This is Sports Spectrum, bringing Jesus into the sports conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Grace Lyons, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to talk to you. Back-to-back championships. It's been a month or two, since everything went down and you finished out another amazing season with the Sooners. Now that you've had a little bit of a time to reflect, what thoughts come to mind when I say that, back-to-back champs?
Oh, that's something, every college athlete dreams of getting one. And I take it back. They even dream of playing a game of college athletics. So to win one was amazing. And then to do it again, it's just a testament to how our team was, how good we were, and then just how united we are as a team and just for what we stand for. It's so cool to be able to win 2 in a row. And this year it's looking good for maybe a three-peat. I don't know, but it's such a great program that I'm a part of.
Well, you got one more year, right? And you're coming back. And to go 3 in a row would just be amazing to finish a college career. But when you look at your team, there's no reason why you're not going to try and make another run for this next year. You guys are loaded with talent. It's got to be really neat to kind of know that the program and Coach Patty and just the way that she's developed the team, bringing in new talent, young people who are contributing right away, as freshmen. It's just pretty cool to think. I would imagine it would have to be amazing to think that you guys have this sustained success, to know that you're going to make a run for it really every year.
Oh yeah, it's something that Coach does such a great job of with recruiting, with leading our team, but also it's an important job on the leaders within the team to make sure that the team has chemistry. People are cheering each other on no matter what role they're in, and that's something that Coach really implements, is making sure that we are invested in our roles, whether we're on the field or we're on the bench or we're a pinch runner. Everyone has a role, and making sure we're doing it the best we can. That's kind of her job of making our team work the way it does, and that allows us to be so successful year after year.
Yeah, there's a word that's behind you for those that can't see this and that are listening, and that word is joy. I hear that word a lot. It's thrown around, I think, maybe carelessly in some cases, but there's a genuine joy looking from the outside, looking in, from me watching you guys make your run, that appears to be the case. Is that a word that comes to mind when you think about your team?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to know that our team, and we have a bunch of believers on our team. I'm blessed to have that many, because some teams maybe have one and that one's trying to be a leader, but we have so many. And even for those who aren't believers, I think they can feed off of all of us, that what we stand for is something more than just softball. And you'll hear me say that a lot, but it's so cool to be able to know that softball is just what we do. And it's something that brings us joy. And one of my favorite verses since high school, I don't really have one favorite verse, but it's one that's kind of maneuvered in and out of my life in different seasons. But Philippians 4:4, and it's a command from God that says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I will say it again, rejoice. And it's a command, which means as believers, we need to be obedient to that. So no matter the situation, we've had success, obviously, as a team, but even through the failures, we're commanded to have joy and to be joyful in all circumstances.
I feel like when I talk to you and when I watch Oklahoma play, and when I watch you play, and then I watch you guys celebrate, after you win and you're singing "Nobody But Jesus" from Casting Crowns, as opposed to "We Are the Champions." Like, there's just so many cool things. It makes me feel like that you, Grace, are more of a softball player, or I should say an ambassador for Christ disguised as a softball player. Is that accurate in how you look at your ministry?
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I think it's so relevant. And that's how us as kingdom builders we need to be seen as, and we have our armor on, our softball uniform that disguises us, but under that, like I said, our armor's on, our faith should be what we're rooted in. And it's just so cool to be able to have that as our identity, and it allows us to be able to go into all these different places in our lives, because softball is just one part of my life. There's so many other different aspects that when I hang the cleats up, I'm going to have other stuff to do and other things to be an ambassador for Christ in. And that's where, we go disguise ourselves in other ways. But underneath, it's the same root, the same cornerstone that Jesus is. And it's just cool to have that be a constant in my life.
When did you realize that was what God was calling you to do, to be the best softball player you could be, but to not let that be your identity and to be able to point people to Jesus? When was that time frame for you when you realized that?
So I grew up in the church, had a great family who we went to church, but I was really challenged my freshman year of high school. And it was right after I had committed to OU. I met a mentor who continued to speak into me and encourage me. And her main words to me were, there's so much more than what you're living for right now. I mean, there's a challenge to go all in. And what all in meant was, with my personality, I'm naturally a leader. I think I naturally can lead by example. Maybe the leading by commands or my voice isn't as natural, but I like to lead and I like to encourage people. So kind of combining those two together, she really challenged me to take my faith into a way that I were to influence others instead of just trying to learn and grow on my own, because that's what we're called to do, to go make disciples. And that's what, from freshman year of high school, I started preparing myself, started learning how to pray out loud, learning how to go and tell others about church and invite them. And I think that's something that prepared me for college, because ultimately I feel like that's my calling. That's my purpose, to go and influence the people around me for Christ. And it was such a cool experience to step on campus at OU and be that leader, even freshman year, that first day on campus, being able to be known for what I stand for.
There's so many young people who struggle with rejection, who struggle with, I don't know, being made fun of, whatever it might be, to stand and be open about their faith and then talk to others about Jesus. That's a struggle for a lot of people. I have a young daughter, not that young anymore. I mean, she's 18 and going to college. She'll be a freshman in the fall, who struggles with that. That's natural. I mean, I'm in my 40s and I sometimes struggle with talking to people about Jesus. What would your encouragement be to those young people? Because I hear freshmen in high school and growing through high school and then coming to college as a freshman at OU, and you're just trying to fit in. And already people are seeing you in this light that's shining through you. What would your encouragement be for some of those young people who struggle, or any person that struggles with maybe being open about their faith?
Yeah, I think number one is understanding that we are children of God. And when we look at the Bible speaks truth, and it is the truth. And God put these things into play and wrote these things for our benefit. He loves us so much that he sent his son to die for us so we could have a life that's worthy to him. And so when you first notice what the Bible's saying, it is good. Whatever he's saying, whatever commandments or laws or things that maybe can seem opposing to the world, which they are, they may seem not as fun, not as cool, but God intended them to be good for us. And when you realize that it gives me a confidence and just the spirit of no shame to be able to just be confident in these things that he calls us to. And why don't I have the urge to go and share that to others? I need to. If I've been given this knowledge, I've been given the Bible in front of me, I'm called to go and tell people about it, because I want these things that God intended for good. I want others to know about them and to know about a good Father who loves us. So I just feel like looking at the Bible, you can't be transformed without reading it, because it's just it's so living. You hear it's a living word, and it changes your heart. It softens your heart. So reading the Bible, number one, is going to ultimately give you that spirit opposing to the spirit of fear that Timothy, that it talks about in Timothy. So I just think that the Bible and God's word will transform you, and ultimately that will make you unashamed of the gospel.
Have you had those moments where you might have been a little timid, maybe a little nervous, maybe a little scared, but God kind of helped you through it, and you saw the fruit from being able to be open or share your faith?
Oh, 100%. I look back, and when I talked about learning how to pray out loud, I was terrified to even say a prayer to my team circle. And then my coach challenged me to invite the other team to pray. And so that's where it started. And I was terrified of saying the wrong thing, or just, misspeaking. And then I look back to my freshman year of college. I felt alone at times when I thought I was the only one trying to do what I was doing. And I'm a stubborn person, so naturally I didn't feed into maybe the things of this world that college can give, but I felt timid to continue to share that at times because I felt like I was the only person trying to do that. And that's what the devil wants to try to distract you with and tell you you're alone. But God says you're alone and you're holy because you're different than the things of this world. So I think knowing that and realizing that, it allowed me to kind of get back on track and say, okay, I'm unashamed, and I'm going to keep leading my team, leading the people around me. And there's been times, obviously, where there's seasons of life and there's seasons of different fruit that you can see, where maybe all of the different ones aren't ripe at the same time, and maybe I'm lacking in some of them. But it's cool to see just God move and give us those confidence and just this feeling of boldness that we can go and share the faith.
We're so glad to have Grace Lyons here joining us on Sports Spectrum. Who was that Grace Lyons who arrived at OU as a freshman compared to the Grace Lyons that I'm talking to right now?
I kind of knew what I was doing. Obviously, I was not as knowledgeable of softball, I would say, as I am now. It's cool to grow in that way. But when I look at my faith, talking about just those feelings of being alone, and maybe feeling like I'm the only one trying to do this, I think I slowly tried to grab friends next to me and pull them with me. And relationships are so important to me. So freshman year of college, I knew that relationships were important. But now looking as a senior, looking at the people that I've surrounded myself with, that has given me so much encouragement. That has allowed me to continue what I'm doing. And we spur each other on. Two are better than one. And I think that's something that being able to have great friends and people encouraging me, that allows me to go out and just continue what I'm doing.
How do you manage relationships with people, teammates, and others who are not there yet with their faith, and loving them and being there for them, but not, forcing them to do anything they don't want to do against their own will? How do you manage relationships like that and with teammates?
The thing that I realized is the word consistency. If I am trying to live a life that's consistent, which means I'm trying to do what I'm saying, my actions are adding up with my words, good or bad. I don't want to be lukewarm. In Revelation, it says that he'll spit us out if we're lukewarm. So that's such a bad place to be in. So my goal, I slip up, yes, but my goal is to be consistent. And when I'm consistent, others respect that consistency. And that builds relationships automatically because they can trust you. They can talk to you and ask questions because they know what they're going to get. They know that you're going to be loving towards them. So I think that foundation of consistency for your character, and then ultimately not being afraid to go out and build new relationships, because we can't just stay in our house doing our own thing. We got to go and actively pursue those relationships. And God's word doesn't come back void. So if we continue to live out God's word in our life, people are going to start wanting to know what it is and what makes us different. So I'm reading, I'm learning, and I'm implementing what I'm reading. And that allows others to see Jesus just through us, how we live consistently. So that would be a key thing for that. And then just, bringing up wanting to know about people's stories. That's another thing, of being interested in their stories and explaining how God has his hand over all of our lives from the beginning. So kind of mixing that in subtly, but then that'll grow into more conversations eventually.
No, I think that's really good. Who are some of the teammates, people for you when you first got to OU that helped you in your faith to be the softball player who isn't about only softball, but it's really about using softball as a platform to point to the Lord?
Yeah, I can think of as a freshman, I had the blessing of playing with Sid Romero, Shay Knighton, Fale View, who were strong believers. And we started Bible studies and we were able to just challenge each other to speak different times or pray different times. So having that community was awesome, looking up to them as seniors, and then just being able to create that relationship that allowed me to have the confidence and go do that when they were gone. And that's something that for me now as a senior, I got to find young ones and I got to build them up so that when I'm gone, they can continue that legacy that started with Shay and Fale and Sid. And then obviously Sarah Roberts had a great influence on me. She was kind of our chaplain from the beginning, freshman year. So learning from her and then just being involved in FCA, those leaders in that definitely encouraged me as a freshman.
Yeah, and doing my research on you, Grace, besides the fact that you're a pretty awesome softball player and having a lot of success with Oklahoma, I see a couple things. I see BATTLE, BATL, the acronym for that. And I just thought I would just say that, BATTLE. Tell everybody what that is.
So BATTLE stands for boast about the Lord. And there's different translations in the Bible. So if you look at 2 Corinthians 10:17, in the NLT version, it says that specifically, boast about the Lord. If you're to do anything, boast about the Lord. And other versions will say boast in the Lord, boast only in the Lord. But it's cool because I've been trying to practice memorizing verses, and whether I see them in numbers or in little acronyms, that allows me to memorize them better and just learn them and see them throughout my day. And it's something in the 2021 season, I was telling my roommate about it and I was like, oh, this would be such a cool thing to memorize or to learn. And I actually was gone from a chapel, but Grace shared it with Sarah at the chapel because I was working on homework that was due that day. But Grace shared it with her and that's where it just took off. Our team loved it. Our team rallied around that little saying, and it's something that we turned into a little cheer that you can hear at the World Series or throughout the season. And we ended up turning into shirts. And it's something that Sooner Nation and then just the kingdom in general is able to support and stand for something more than just a shirt that says OU softball or anything like that.
Yeah. So there's shirts right now in apparel that you can go get, right?
Yes, I made some shirts, not really a company for me, but like I just wanted to come up with some cool Jesus shirts that people can rep because I know sometimes it's hard to find them or find creative ones. So I actually have a little website you can find in my, I think, Instagram bio that sells some battle shirts, boast about the Lord, and things like that.
That's cool. You also, I saw, started this players conference. Tell everyone what this is, because I think it's phenomenal for a college student to try and do some of the things that the ministry with Sports Spectrum that we work with PAO does. I love what the players conference is. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah. So kind of how we've been talking about how to take your faith to the next level and bring it to softball and not have them separate. It's something that I thought about all last year, so all of 2021 season. I just had the idea of uniting college softball players. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but after the World Series, it came to me that I wanted to start a conference that got college softball players and so people in the same sport together in one location to learn about God, study His Word, but also be encouraged and challenged to go back to your teams and have an influence. So similar to PAO, which is for professional athletes, kind of an individualized sports conference. And then there's also FCA camps for the high school or middle school ages, but there's nothing for college. So I really wanted to fill that gap. And college is such an important time in your life because you're only there 4 years. You have a designated time with designated people. So why not take advantage of that time that we have together and encourage others on different teams, because it's so much, like I keep saying, so much more than just what we're playing. At the end of the day, we got to be ready to be prepared to go into the world and whatever we do.
If I'd have talked to you as a freshman, do you think you would have envisioned things like this happening? Were you equipped, do you think, coming in as a freshman to say, okay, I want to make a difference. I don't know exactly what it is. And then I would tell you, well, you got these, this apparel, these, boast about the Lord shirts. Oh, we got this players conference. We got you leading, Bible studies and speaking at FCA, camps and chapels and things like that. Would the freshman Grace Lyons have said, yeah, absolutely, that's what I see myself doing? Or would you just be shaking your head, no way?
I don't think I would envision this. It's something that, God sanctifies us every single day. We continue to be changed and renewed, and it's something that takes time. And a lot of people will make either excuses on not jumping into something because they don't feel equipped. Well, I did not feel equipped freshman year, but that didn't mean that I wasn't going to continue to learn and grow and learn how to be obedient to God. And that's something that over the years I've had to learn. I've had to learn that the Spirit is in us and it's going to move us to do different things. But if we don't move on that, then we're being disobedient. So I've had to learn through good and bad situation of saying yes and saying no. But it's cool to be on the other side and see how these things have come to happen. I would have never said that I'd have shirts or lead a conference or speak at FCAs. Like, I was still throughout high school learning how to speak and give messages, but it's a process 100%.
I imagine this is something you want to do when softball's over.
Yeah,
if God wills it, right?
For sure. And the Lord's will is always the right one. So I'm finishing out this last year and figuring out what I want to do, but it's just been a passion that's been growing in me. And I know ministry can happen wherever you're at, wherever your feet are planted. But for me, I have just a strong passion to grow and influence the younger generation or college athletes that maybe I was in their shoes at one point. So I think it's something that's definitely a possibility. I love working with FCA. This conference is fun to plan and fun to grow. And it's just cool to see how God moves my heart in these last 4 years, because so much has changed. So much has changed in what I wanted to do, what kind of avenues I've gone, and we're going to see. That's where I'm not trying to pick a certain path right now, but we're going to see where God moves my heart and kind of where I'm led.
Yeah, and you still play softball. Oh, by the way, we don't want to forget about that, and being really good at that. I did want to ask you, going back on the field for a minute, you hit a home run, a 3-run homer in that clinching game against Texas. What's that moment like? Because the moment of winning a championship, I think we can all imagine what that's like. We just had Josh Manson on, who won the Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche, and I kept asking him what that moment was like, and he kept saying, it's surreal. It's surreal. It's like an out-of-body experience, because you culminate, all that you've worked for, and then it actually happens. But when you actually contribute in a moment like that, a 3-run homer in, later in the game to really put the game away, and that you got this thing, that you're winning this title, describe that moment, like being in the box, digging in, and then boom, 3-run homer in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah. Honestly, what makes it possible is to not think about that you're at the World Series and you're in a game-winning opportunity. But you think about all the different things that you want to focus on. I personally was getting beat by this pitcher all season long, and I really wasn't thinking about the situation until after it happened. I was like, dang, that actually happened. That was so cool. But in the moment, you're really just trying to focus on, and it's cliche, but pitch to pitch, making adjustments. But I really just wanted to beat this girl one time, just please one time, get her, hit it hard at least. And to see it go over the fence as I'm rounding first, it kind of goes quiet. Like, everything kind of goes quiet because it happens. And then finally, when I let myself feel the feeling and feel the emotion, then you just look around and you take it all in, and just see people cheering and loving the game and supporting it. Man, it's so much fun, and it brings me so much joy. I'd say that's joy right there, when you see just all of the different parts come together and all the hard work pay off, all of the tough losses pay off. It's cool. And rounding home, just coming into your team, that's my favorite part. Running into the team around home plate, them piling on you. It is surreal, but I like to take it all in and just feel it, because I'm not gonna be in this situation much longer.
Well, and the fact that you have Oklahoma City, Hall of Fame Stadium, 12,000 fans, kind of a second home for you guys because it's not that far from Norman, that's got to be pretty awesome too. Just playing at such a, it's such a high level on the biggest platform and everybody's watching on ESPN, and yet there's 12,000 screaming fans that are, I would say 80% or 90% of them are screaming for you.
Yeah, no, it's something you dream about that as a kid. We're thankful enough to have it in our home state, but to play in front of that many people is incredible. And most of them are cheering for you, so that makes it even better. They're not booing at you, they're not yelling at you, but just to have little girls know your name and people to cheer for you and call you by name, I think that's so cool. That I'm hoping that I'm teaching them that to be more than just a softball player, to be a kind person, to be thoughtful and just look out for them as much as they cheer me on. That's I just want my legacy to be more than just Grace the softball player.
Yeah, I love hearing that. All right, my last question. Do you have a favorite story of someone? And if you don't want to name a name, that's fine. Maybe you're okay naming a name, who came to the Lord, maybe during your time here at OU, or you saw them grow or maybe get baptized or something happen where you saw a genuine transformation in them. Can you share a story that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think she'd like it if I shared her name, just because it was a cool story. But so my little buddy, second base buddy, Tiara Jennings, and I have become close friends over the last few years, just building that connection up the middle and just being able to grow together with our hobbies and go fishing together. But we went down to the OU Texas game this past year, and she had grown up in kind of a Catholic lifestyle and kind of knowing that, but she didn't understand, and she kept asking questions. And that's the coolest thing, is that she didn't really understand her own faith, and coming to church, asking questions, coming to Bible studies, whether she was quiet and just listening or asking questions one-on-one. It was the coolest thing to just watch that curiosity happen. And we went down to Texas, had fun. It was just a busy weekend, so there was a lot going on. Kind of maybe got tired of the girls just hanging out for a long amount of time in a small house, but we are exhausted after it, and we're driving back home. It's probably a 3-hour drive, and we stop at Buc-ee's, to one of the best gas stations in the South. It's through Texas, but it's a huge gas station. We stopped to get some food, go to the bathroom, and we had just gone to church early that morning on the way back, and we're sitting in Buc-ee's getting gas, and all we hear from her is, "Hey, I think I'm ready." And we're like, "What?" She goes, I think I'm ready to give my life to Jesus and just surrender it all, because I can't keep doing this on my own. I can't just be alone in my struggles and all of that. So to hear her say that, we immediately stopped getting gas. We all turned around in the car, put our hands on her and said, "Hey, can we pray for you? Can we pray that, can you pray this prayer with us for salvation and accept Jesus into your heart?" And that's what happened in the Buc-ee's parking lot. And it was one of the coolest things, because all of our friends were there, our little group that we've grown together with. And it was one of the coolest moments I'll never forget, especially because it was just in Buc-ee's, and she'll remember that forever. We got a little stuffed animal to remember that. But we came home in a week or two later with her parents coming out. She got baptized in Coach Gasso's pool with the whole team there. So just being a part of that, man, it gives me goosebumps as I think about it, just lives being changed and people spurring others on. I know Tiara now has had an influence on her roommates and people who she is close to. And it's something that, I can't even explain it, because just God has his hands over our team and just over people who are willing to be obedient to him. And I'll never forget that. And I hope that continues to happen in our team.
I'm so glad I asked that question, because I really honestly wasn't sure if we were going to have time or go to that direction, but I saw it on my prep, and I'm like, I got to ask, because there's probably something there. And it's just so awesome to hear, because the fact that you were at Buc-ee's at a gas station and Tiara says, "Okay, this is the moment right now," and you guys recognized it. that you're going to pray for her and she was going to have this transformation really take shape in a gas station on the way back home. I believe in the power of church and the body of believers getting together, and I think people should go to church. But man, you could be at a gas station, and that's the time. It's so encouraging to hear, Grace. I appreciate you sharing that story. Thank you for being on the show. Maybe it'll be back to back next time we talk to you. I mean, it'd be fun to watch, and I'd have no doubt you guys will be making a run for it next year. But this was quite the conversation and quite a lot of fun for me and a treat. So thanks for being here. All the best to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. What you guys do is awesome. And just for the people listening, just continue to listen and trust that the God of the universe loves each and every one of us and wants to have his hand over our lives and does that.
Yeah, that's what we try to do here at Sports Spectrum, and just keep Jesus in the conversation. That's what we can do, Grace. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching today on Sports Spectrum. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos. And if you want more stories on sports and faith, check out our website, sportsspectrum.com.